What is up, guys, and welcome back to another Gran Turismo Sport video. Today we're doing some daily races, and this is a track combination and car class combination that I really seem to enjoy. This is Spa in the wet in Group 3 cars, so we're going to have some fun with this. For the first time I'm buying the Audi R8 Group 3 car. I can't believe I haven't used this car on this account up until this stage, but we are going to utilize it for qualifying. The Audi R8 is one of the best qualifiers. It's quite OP, quite oversteery, and just fast over one lap, so we're going to utilize that. How it's going to work though in the rain, I'm not too sure. You would have to say that maybe the Porsche 911 would be a better choice, just something that's got a decent amount of grip, with tyre wear and all that coming into play. I'm not too sure how this car is going to fare, but it was up there in the top 10 leaderboard, so I'm just going to run with it. But anyway, here we are for Spa. Apparently the game has sent me out on hard compound tyres. I haven't done any qualifying or practice. I'm just jumping straight into the warm-up of the race to get it customized, and you can see it's just a real struggle at this stage. But yeah, hopefully the race is a better affair. We're starting towards the back in a field full of B-rated drivers. So previously we've been racing against C-class drivers, the occasional B driver, but now we're going to have to lift our game if we want to be able to compete against these guys. So here we go for our first race, and right away we realize we are on the wrong compound of tyre. In the pre-race menus, I couldn't change to a wet compound of tyre. I could only do that in the warm-up. And yeah, so that meant I was screwed. So I'm coming into the pit lane now to change onto a wet compound of tyre. But because the race technically hasn't started yet, I can't do a pit stop. So I've got to do an entire lap of the Belgian Grand Prix circuit on a dry tyre on a fully wet track. It doesn't look that wet. It's actually no actual rain, but the track itself is pretty damp. So this is going to be a very treacherous lap to get back to the pit lane to put on a wet set of tyres. There's honestly, there's no coming back from this, is there? We had some interesting little excursions, but overall this was probably my worst ever lap of Spa. I think it amounted to about 3 or 4 minutes, and we finally limped our way back to the pit lane onto the wet tyres. We fell like a minute and a half behind the race leader. And in the end, we finished in P15, which in itself was a bit of a miracle, considering I started P20. Literally everyone quit. So that's how I was able to get up the order. But anyway, here we are for the next race. We've done a qualifying lap. It puts us P8, and we are for certain starting on the wet compound of tyre. So let's see how we do in this one. Got the replay cameras up. Let me know if you enjoy seeing the extra perspectives. I quite enjoy the replay cameras on this game. It's one of the highlights, I think. But anyway, away we go for our second race. Let's hopefully make a better race of it this time. We see the Mercedes spinning out straight away at the bus stop chicane, and that promotes us up into P7. These rolling starts really do spread out the field quite a bit. You can see we're 10 seconds off the race leader, and we haven't done anything. We haven't done anything wrong. It's just, yeah, very large spacings. Super GT says it a lot in his videos, and I have to agree. I wish that they would introduce standing starts so that everyone would have a much more closely spaced grid. But anyway, here we go. Up our rouge for the first time. It's quite treacherous. Well, not treacherous. These are actually proper corners in these cars. So too is like Blanchimont. So many corners that really are effortlessly taken in a Formula 1 car. Makes it so much more exciting in a Group 3 car, or GT3 if you're not familiar with Gran Turismo. It just means that, like, you have to be quite brave. You have to really risk it at these high-speed corners in order to, you know, make up a lot of time. We get up the inside of the Beetle, then these two idiots up here come together, and that promotes us up into P5. We might get the McLaren into the middle sector here, around the outside, and a wet circuit at Spa. You know, I could be brave there, but I don't think that would have worked out too well because the McLaren was sliding around everywhere. He gave us a bit of a push wide and he gets his way back up to P4. We swiftly counter-attack him and find ourselves on a charge towards the podium now. 5 seconds is the gap to the next car, speaking of which has a penalty of some sort, so I'm guessing that's for track limits. Making a mistake around this place is punished very heavily. So if you cut a rouge or radion too much, that's a penalty for sure. Even just like running wide off of some corners, it's unbelievable how much time you lose at some of these corners. I think the worst is probably Puon. You run out a little bit too wide there, get up on the curb, and it just takes you forever to recover back onto the circuit. So minimizing those mistakes is absolutely key around this place. We've halved the, well, not halved the gap, but we've closed the gap to the race leader by a second. It's now down to 9 seconds. So it looks like we've got pretty good pace at this stage of the race. And that's pretty impressive considering my lack of experience, you know, on this track in the wet. This is my, all I've done is that one race before, and then I did like 1 or 2 qualifying laps, and here we are thrown into our second race, and we're looking pretty comfortable, it must be said. Getting a little bit too wide on the curbing there. Thankfully, we aren't punished. Braking now for the bus stop chicane. I am using all of the natural braking markers around the circuit. I was running with cone markers previous to this video, but I've since turned them off, and I'm now just going to utilize the track's natural features, so we'll see how that works out for us. Anyway, around the outside of the Mustang into turn 1. He's going to run in a little bit deeper here, squeeze us on the exit, but we get the better traction, and we find our way up into P3. However, the battle isn't over just yet, because he's in the slipstream, and as you guys know, it's pretty strong here on Gran Turismo Sport, so we have to get a good run up our Rouge and Radion, hopefully not cut that. Otherwise, that'll be a slowdown penalty for us on the next lap, but we do get through there cleanly. But the Mustang has pretty good straight line speed here, and he's going to make it work for him around the outside into Lake Com. We're going to have to be the last of the late breakers here as we head into that chicane, and we do hold on to the position. So fighting hard here in this Belgian I'm sorry, it's not a Belgian Grand Prix. Some habits are just very hard to shake, it seems. But we are into P3 in this race regardless. Thankfully no savage dive bomb from the Mustang, and we can press on with our race. Back to the leaders now, and you can see this is Brzostek 1 in the Porsche, which is the same car as what I'm running, so it should be decent on tyres, but he's coming in for a pit stop regardless. Change of tyres, he is changing to another set of wet compound tyres. No fuel going on board, but that's just purely for strategy, it seems. I don't really get that, because you can easily get to the end of this race with the wet tyres. Like, it's 7 times tyre wear, but the fastest way to navigate this race is to do a no-stop and just manage your fuel a little bit. That's something you do have to do in this Porsche. In the Audi, I wasn't suffering such issues, but we are closing in the race leader quite massively at this stage of the race. The gap was 9 seconds. You can see now it's 3.5. We come through for the penultimate time onto the back straight, and this was my first little mistake of the race, and I was really ruining that mistake because I was having a really good run of the leader. The momentum was on my side, and then that mistake has really allowed him to actually gain 2 seconds just from that one mistake. And now on this last lap, I kind of lost hope that I could beat him, but he's still continuing to lose time quite massively. The Audi R8, like I've said a couple of times, is a qualifying car. It's not exactly the best race car due to the characteristics of its handling. And you can see this guy is sliding around everywhere. He's really suffering like a lack of confidence. I don't know if he's trying to push or if he's driving a little bit conservatively, but the car is just not behaving to his liking. And as such, he's just absolutely bleeding time. The gap is now under 2 seconds. Slipstream, mind you, kicks in at about 1.5 seconds. And so we might have a good run at him on this last lap. The gap is 1.3. This guy is... he's struggling to stay on the racetrack. He's absolutely dying in terms of race pace. Gap is 7/10. we could win this race from what was, P8 we started from. This guy was 10 seconds in front of us at one stage, and now on the last lap we could be about to take it all from Mr. Najefkot here. Another wobbly moment, and we got the inside into Stabilo 1, and we are in the lead of this Belgian Grand Prix. Screw it, we're calling it a Grand Prix now. This is quite magical. He's in the slipstream though. The battle is not over. He could easily ram us, dive bomb us, or I could just completely run wide at the bus stop chicane. This is what it all comes down to. Gives us a big touch there through Blanchimont, and now we have to recover back onto the circuit. We're going to be supremely under pressure as we head into the bus stop chicane for the last time, going defensive. He's got a penalty though, so as long as we can stay within half a second, it looks like we're going to finish first on track anyway. It will lead us to our first ever victory around Spa on Gran Turismo Sports. What a race. From 8th place on the grid, 10 seconds off the lead, we have fought through the pack, overtaking every single car except for the guy who made his pit stop, and we have stolen the race from the Audi R8 driver's grasp. What a way to kick off our first ever, well, our first set of daily races here at Spa. I really do enjoy the track and weather combination. Just throwing in rain really adds that extra level of, challengingness. That's definitely not a word. But anyway, I had good fun. I didn't even know that rain was a thing on Gran Turismo. So that was an interesting little shake-up. Really do have to adapt your driving style in order to be quick in these conditions. You really have to back it off even more. Really not push too hard into corners. Otherwise, the tires will just complain and not really do anything for you. But now we move on to our third race, and this is with the same qualifying time. I feel like these are slightly better B-rated drivers, so again, we're going to have to up our game if we want to get through the pack. I feel like we definitely are faster than what our qualifying time suggests. The time that I did in qualifying was in 2 minute 40. I'm going to do another lap, maybe after this race or the race after, but I did improve it by a whole multitude of seconds. So, yeah, it just means that we are kind of fighting around with drivers who are a little bit slower than us, but it makes the early part of the race that much more exciting, I guess. Fighting now with the Audi R8 as we go up Blanchimont for the first time. He's cut that quite massively. Wouldn't be surprised to see him get a penalty. Or not. Okay, he's not going to get a penalty. I can't believe he's got away with that. We're already 13 seconds off the lead. I don't think we'll be winning this one. So we're just going to enjoy the battles as we fight our way through the pack. The Audi moving to the inside and really suppressing me of any space as we head into the Les Combes for the first time. Here's a replay. At first glance, this does look like I've taken everybody out. But the Audi here moves to the inside. I'm now having to put steering lock on. And I don't know, I feel like he has contributed to that a little bit. Like, if he didn't squeeze me so much, I probably could have pulled up for the corner and not barged into those other three drivers. But let me know who you think is at fault for that. Still, though, I do accept a bit of blame for that. But anyway, up the inside of this AMG, just a couple of corners later, after sending many people to Monza. Anyway, Puon. Took me 3 seconds to think of that corner name. We make a big boy mistake there, and you can just see the amount of time we've lost to the Subaru up ahead. So running out wide is not something you want to be making a habit of, as we get forced into running wide through the middle sector. Maybe a bit of karma there after barging off three people. We fast forward into hyperdrive. We get past the AMG, who made a mistake. Now we've got another AMG to deal with as we head into Blanchimont. I love this corner. You have to risk so much to get it right through here. Fifth gear, a slight lift, one small mistake, and you're losing a lot of time. But anyway, big train of cars here as we head into the bus stop chicane. We're going to go for the smallest of gaps, and now we are up at a P5. If you're unhappy with that move, I think you need to have a little speak with my good friend Ayrton.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
I saw the gap, had to go for it. it's has well and truly worked out for us now, and we are up in a P5. Yeah. Might have screwed over one or two drivers in the process, but hey, it looked pretty darn spectacular. Some very questionable driving from me today. I'm not going to shy away from that, and it descends into even more anarchy with this four-way battle for P2 here. You'll see what I mean in just a second. But we get up the inside of the Corvette. We're now in a P4. He gives us a squeeze onto the grass, had no control, merged over into his line, and then gave him another touch, which has probably made him a little bit more pissed off. We run into Blanchimont, the corner which I absolutely love. The 911 seems to handle this corner really good at high speed, and it just means that we're all over these guys into the bus stop chicane. I was very patient, but the Corvette behind me, the same could not be said for him. As we get barged wide by the AMG, now the Corvette is having a little play as well, and it really is descending into bumper carts at this stage. 16 seconds off the lead of the race, and things really do kick off here as we give the Corvette a bit of a serve back. 15 all, it seems. Who's up for serve next? Who knows? But let's try and get away from this little group of cars if we can. We're in the slipstream of the McLaren up ahead, so let's utilize this set of corners to our advantage. The Porsche seems to be really good at high speed, or at least maybe I'm good at high speed. I can't really tell, but I seem to really lather up some of these corners to our advantage. The slipstream is really keeping us from getting attacked from the German behind. Heading into Lake Com now, and we were really late under brakes here, so much so that we nearly ran into the Ford GT in front of us. But we might go for a little lunge here up the inside into this next right-hander, so long as we can get the inside on the power really early there, out sideways, trying to get a better exit. And there we go, we are up the inside, and now we are clear of all the idiots in this daily race. And now we'll see if we can just pull away. We need a really good middle sector here in order to just keep us out of touch from them. Like I said, I want the gap to be 1.5 seconds. It's 1.9 at this stage. So a really good middle sector for us there. 3 seconds up on our previous personal best. It is only lap 3, and we have been fighting with a lot of people. But our first lap in clear air yields a pretty good lap. That's my fastest ever lap I've done at Spa in the wet. So I will certainly take that. The race leader, mind you, makes a pit stop on lap 4. He did have a lead of about 10, 11, 12 seconds. So it'll be interesting for the rest of this race to see if he can close us in. He will have fresh tyres, which will mean that he should be a bit faster than us. But the gap emerges to be about 5 seconds as he came out of the pit lane. But for the rest of the race, it was really weird. He wasn't faster than me. So his strategy of having fresher tyres to chase me down never worked. I got faster, and as such, I won the race. So this was an even more unbelievable race. This was a start outside the top 10. The leader had a 16-second lead this time, and we still won. So I don't know what to say. I feel like even if he didn't pit, I feel like we probably would have won anyway, or we would have got really close because he would have been even slower than what he was by having older tires. So it just kind of, if anything, really denied us of having a really good scrap at the end, like our first race win was. But anyway, we move on. For our final race of the video, we are starting from P2, and the rolling start positioning of P2 hasn't worked out too well for us. We were like way wide of the apex, and I had to start the race with like barely any throttle, and so it means that P1 gets away quite a bit. 3.5 seconds is the gap to him. Again, Super GT is saying it, a lot of other people say it as well. I'm not really sure why we have these rolling starts. I guess it is to minimize the crashes and incidents, but it makes it quite hard to have any excitement on the first lap unless you're massively faster than someone. Anyway, that's just, that's the way it is, I guess. We just have to deal with it. But anyway, lap 2, we've caught up to the race leader. He's sliding around already, so that's ominous signs if you can't really keep the car on the racetrack when the tyres are still relatively fresh. We'll put him under a bit of pressure and see if we can take the lead off of this guy. and really cement ourselves as maybe one of the best contenders in B class. I guess the aim here is really just to get myself into A class now and race against some of the better drivers in Gran Turismo Sport. I feel like if not at the end of this race, maybe 1 or 2 races after this, we should have a driver rating that is high enough to give us A class. There's a lot of math that goes on behind the scenes. Hopefully, yeah, 1 or 2 more wins and we should be there. But anyway, putting pressure on this Porsche. She's really sliding around at this stage. I think he's just pushing too hard, if anything. And it's really leading to his undoing. Anyway, we're nearly side by side as we run on the back straight. Can we run side by side through Blanchimont? I haven't really tried it so far in this race, but we are going to do it now. Up the inside. The guy on the outside is always the one who's going to get screwed over. But I feel like he didn't get too screwed over there as we head into the bus stop chicane. I broke a little bit early, to be fair. And I actually gave him the lead back because I did kind of push him off circuit there. So I just thought I'd give him the benefit of the doubt. We do have a big gap to the cars behind. My qualifying lap and his qualifying lap was way faster than everyone else in this race. So I feel like this is going to be a bit of a 2-horse race here at Spa. Up the inside. This might be legitimately for the lead now. And we'll see if we can pull away from here on out. So as we go up Arouge, nice and tidy through there. Thankfully, no warnings for us or penalties for track limits ever since my first race. So I've done a really good job to kind of keep it clean. Our rival here hasn't had such fortune. So he'll get a slowdown penalty on the next lap for half a second. And he slowed down. He got the penalty. He fell out of slipstream. And then I think he might have made a couple of mistakes because he was 5 seconds behind me after that one clear lap in the lead. And come the end of the race, we are now going to win this one by near on 15 seconds. So it's been a pretty successful day here on Gran Turismo Sport. This daily race here at Spa has really lent itself well to some good racing. We come across the line and win another race. And that is certainly doing our record a whole world of good. But I hope you guys have enjoyed these videos here, or these races on Gran Turismo Sport. I feel like we are just about knocking on the door of an A-rated driver level. So hopefully in the next video I will be racing against some pretty speedy boys and we can have some nice close racing, which you guys have really been calling for. But I feel like the quality of racing in this one was better than in previous videos, so hopefully you guys enjoy that. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys for a brand new video very soon.